Minsk, Belarus, a city at the crossroads of Europe and Eurasia, has become the stage for a carefully choreographed display of diplomacy. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian begins his visit to the Belarusian capital, where he is greeted by President Alexander Lukashenko. The trip, delayed from its original June date due to the escalation of the Israel-Iran conflict, now carries even greater significance. For Belarus, this is more than a diplomatic handshake. Isolated from much of the West since the disputed elections of 2020 and its unwavering support for Moscow's war in Ukraine, Lukashenko's regime has leaned heavily on alliances with countries equally estranged from Western capitals. Iran is one such partner. Pezeshkian's arrival in Minsk underscores Tehran's determination to expand its partnerships in Eastern Europe, even as tensions with Israel, the United States and Europe escalate. The visit follows his stop in Armenia, another country navigating its own fragile position between East and West. Now, in Minsk, Iran and Belarus present a united front, projecting the image of resilience in the face of isolation. As Pezeshkian's motorcade enters the Belarusian capital, the optics are clear: ceremony, precision, and symbolism. Lukashenko greets his guest with a warm embrace, underscoring the personal rapport he wishes to project. A military band plays, salutes are exchanged, and delegations line up for formal introductions. These are not just diplomatic rituals, they are political messages aimed at domestic audiences and international observers alike. Behind the ceremony lies a deeper story. Both Belarus and Iran share a common struggle: the weight of Western sanctions. For Belarus, sanctions followed its post-election crackdown and its role as Moscow's staunchest ally in the Ukraine war. For Iran, decades of restrictions stem from its nuclear program, regional policies, and confrontations with Israel and the United States. Both nations, facing economic pressures, look to each other for solidarity and opportunity. Economic cooperation will be a key theme of this visit. Belarus, with its industrial capacity in machinery, agriculture, and manufacturing, offers expertise that Iran, under sanctions, finds difficult to access elsewhere. In return, Tehran provides a bridge to Middle Eastern markets and energy resources that Minsk desperately needs. The visit also provides both nations with the optics of agency, the ability to forge partnerships without Western approval. But beyond economics lies geopolitics. For Lukashenko, hosting the Iranian president signals loyalty to Moscow and alignment with Russia's broader strategic bloc. For Pezeshkian, this trip strengthens ties not just with Belarus, but indirectly with Russia, whose partnership with Tehran has deepened significantly during the Ukraine war. Iran's provision of drones and military support to Moscow has already made headlines, and Belarus may serve as another link in this military and technological chain. The timing of the visit is no accident. As Western sanctions tighten and conflicts intensify, Tehran and Minsk both seek to demonstrate resilience. Lukashenko, often described as Europe's last dictator, uses this opportunity to present Belarus as a relevant player on the world stage. For Pezeshkian, still early in his presidency, the optics of being welcomed in Eastern Europe are crucial. They project Iran as a nation not isolated but engaged, capable of forming alliances in defiance of pressure. Lukashenko himself addressed the postponed visit, saying, "Due to unforeseen circumstances, this visit was delayed slightly, but nevertheless, it is no less significant. You have been and remain our friends." His words, delivered with conviction, highlight the durability of this partnership, postponed but not diminished. Yet, analysts caution that beyond the symbolic gestures, both nations face enormous challenges at home. Belarus continues to grapple with economic contraction, political unrest, and dependence on Moscow. Iran faces soaring inflation, waves of domestic protests, and the looming threat of escalation with Israel. For both governments, such visits are not just about foreign policy, they are about survival and legitimacy. Observers note that these alliances, though born of necessity, may grow stronger precisely because of external pressure. As the West tries to isolate Minsk and Tehran, the two capitals turn to each other, reinforcing a network of sanctioned states that stretch from Moscow to Tehran to Minsk. Such partnerships complicate the West's efforts to use isolation as leverage, demonstrating that alternative avenues remain open. The talks in Minsk are expected to cover trade, energy, industrial cooperation, and possibly even military collaboration. While concrete agreements may take time to materialize, the symbolism is already clear. Both leaders are sending a message. that their friendship endures, that sanctions cannot erase alliances, and that together they stand stronger. This visit is as much about audiences back home as it is about international relations. Lukashenko seeks to reassure Belarusians that their country is not alone, that Minsk still has allies willing to stand shoulder to shoulder. Pezeshkian, in turn, projects Iran's diplomatic reach, showing his domestic audience that Tehran can still build bridges in Europe. In the wider context of Eurasian geopolitics, the visit fits neatly into a broader pattern. Russia, under siege from Western sanctions, benefits from its allies strengthening ties with each other. China, though not directly part of this visit, looms in the background as another player encouraging non-Western blocs to deepen cooperation. The Minsk-Tehran relationship, then, is part of a mosaic of shifting power centres, where countries sidelined by the West find common cause. Still, behind the smiles, both leaders know the realities they face. Belarus remains heavily dependent on Russia for economic and security support. Iran, though resilient, faces increasing unrest at home and the risk of further escalation abroad. The warmth of the ceremonies in Minsk cannot mask these underlying pressures. And yet, this is precisely why the visit matters. It is not about resolving all challenges in a single day. It is about optics, messaging, and reassurance. For Minsk and Tehran, the symbolism of this meeting outweighs its immediate outcomes. It is a statement of intent that neither Belarus nor Iran will accept isolation quietly. As the cameras capture handshakes, speeches, and carefully framed images, one truth stands out. In a world divided by sanctions, wars, and rival blocs, alliances among the isolated take on new importance. Belarus and Iran may not reshape global politics on their own, but together they challenge the narrative of Western dominance. From Minsk, the message is clear. Postponed but not abandoned, this partnership endures. Two nations under pressure, two leaders facing challenges, but one message to the world: friendship remains. And in the face of isolation, resilience becomes the strongest currency. This is not just a visit, it is a signal that Belarus and Iran, despite sanctions, scrutiny and setbacks, intend to walk together in defiance of the odds.
Все свои визиты в Иранскую республику, они были наполнены радушием. Я постоянно исполнению всех наших обязательств, которые мы взяли на себя. Подчеркиваю, здесь нет никаких секретов. Мы не дружим против кого-то.
Due to unforeseen circumstances, this visit was postponed slightly, but nevertheless, it was no less significant. You have been and remain our friends.
Менее значимым, чем тогда. Вы были, остаетесь нашими друзьями.